Welcome back to the Flight Simulator First Officer channel. Today I wanted to go over some new options that are available with the latest download of FSFO. As you can see here, we have the user option menu opened, and I'll briefly just go over some of the newest options. The first one is to activate RAS here. What this is, it's a Runway Alert and Awareness System. So this is the system that will tell you when you're entering a runway, when you're approaching a runway, if the system detects you're trying to take off while you're on a taxiway. That has now been implemented within FSFO, and I'll show you a brief demonstration here in just a few minutes. We also have the save the aircraft class location. What this does is it saves the aircraft's latitude and longitude after you complete the shutdown checklist. And why that is relevant is now you can now ask your ground services to move the aircraft to your last saved location. And I will show that here in just a few moments as well. You also have the auto open post-flight report. So what FSFO does now is it will provide a log as well as score your flight using these parameters right here and provide you with a rating and then a logbook. You can also manually choose to save your location during the this is the post-flight form that you will be presented with. So FSFO will now also save your logs, all your flight data, and it keeps a cumulative rating based on all your flights. This will become more relevant as I implement a pack simulation, which will include some financial simulations as well going forward. So this is really just the beginning of that overall effort. You can get details on your log by simply clicking on it, and it will display down here. If you want to delete it, you can double click on it. We'll ask if you want to delete. You can say yes, and then that log will disappear and your rating will update. You can also let me go ahead and reopen that. You can also edit your flight data before you enter into the log by simply clicking on it and then retyping, and then FSFO will go ahead and save that for you. So those are the big features that have been added within this new version. Let me go ahead and provide practical demonstrations so you can exactly see what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and close that. We have the options now open. So we talked earlier that you can go in now to ground services, and if the FSFO has data for your last location, just click on that, and FSFO will move you to that. I did not click on it. And there you go. FSFO just moved me to the last location I saved. So this is good if you want to have a start from the last gate that you landed at for ultimate realism. But if you're like me, I can barely remember what gate that is. So that's why this is useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start up FSFO, and I'm going to demonstrate the RAS feature. So I'll be back once we're fully configured. Okay guys, I'm back. You can see the our first officer is now programming the MCDU, the init A page, as well as downloading our flight. I did want to take this opportunity to show you another option that I added. It's an advanced option as part of a user request. So we now have the advanced option Captain Program Init B, and that should be pref data, and it's set to 1. So when this is set to 1, what that will do is the copilot will program all your route information, but the init B in the perf page will have to be programmed by you, the captain. This includes on descent. This gives you control over the performance data to enter into the MCDU. If you want the copilot to enter that for you, as well as any of these options now, you only have to click on it. Just click on that and it will change it from 1 to 0. Again, advanced options are something that I add per user request. They're not part of the main options that are available here with the more defined options to right click and left click. So if you have anything that you want unique or per the aircraft that you want specially for you, just let me know and I can add that. There's a whole nother road at advanced options. So I wanted to show you that. As you can see down here, program MCDU init B, and that should be pref. that's when you have that option here set to 1. Okay, so we're still configuring the aircraft, and what I'll do is I'll actually show you, I'll program the perf page to show you what that's all about. Be right back. Okay, welcome back. Now that the co-pilot's out on his walk around, this is a good time for you, the pilot in command, to go ahead and configure your portion of the MCDU. As always, with FSFO, the co-pilot has to, or excuse me, the pilot has to set the runways as well as the SID and the star. So we will go ahead and do that now. Again, my test flight going into Logan Airport, and we're not going to use a star today. Just go through again and clear out all your discontinuities. We've discussed this in other videos. After manual, you do not clear out the discontinuity. That's to remind you that it's a vector departure. So with all that set, I will go ahead and program my init B page. As we said, the advanced option I chose to right down here again, I chose to do this. So this is what I want to do as the captain. So we'll go to init B, go to the next page, as our first officer's already done the init A page. And what I like to do is just get my weight information from what our co-pilot already entered into the MCDU on his side. So you can see we have a gross weight of about 140,000 pounds. So our zero fuel weight, excuse me, at a 126.2. So we'll enter that. That is 126.2, and then yeah, so that's right. And then the block fuel will be block fuel. It looks like it's 140. Now we're going to burn about 500 pounds. So I'll put 140.3. So 140.3. That's our takeoff fuel, and 28.3 is our center of gravity. So we will put that in there, and that's that for that page. And then we'll go over to the perf page and back over to the flight bag here. Again, the co-pilot will do this for you, but the reason why I implement this, for one, a couple of users asked for it, but also it kind of prevents you from entering the data in here, because all you're doing is, if you enter it in here, the co-pilot is then taking it from your FSFO performance page and entering it into the MCDU. As some users rightfully pointed out, what's the point of entering it in here when you could just enter it into here? That made a pretty logical sense to me, so that's why I implemented this option to let the captain go ahead and program his MCDU. So we're taking off runway 15. We already said that. Sync the weather. Packs are going to be on. And we said our takeoff weight was 140.3. We'll enter that. And we said our center of gravity was 28.3. So we will enter that. The weather's synced, and we will calculate. So there is our V speeds and our flex temperature. Now you don't need to put this in the performance page, because as I said before, we are entering it ourselves. But I like to have it just as a reminder while I switch over and put this data into the MCDU. It's right here for me to see. You do need the V speeds programmed in here. Unfortunately, the Fenix doesn't provide this data, or doesn't expose the V-speeds data. I've asked for this, so hopefully in the future we can see this way. Like the PMDG aircraft, you won't have to enter them. FSFO, hopefully in the future, we'll just be able to read it direct from the MCDU. We can see we have a flaps 2 takeoff and no trim, so we'll put that in here, flaps 2 takeoff, and then come back down here and enter this data into the MCDU. Excuse me, we'll start with the flaps 2. Our flex temperature is 68. For those new to the Airbus, what the flex temperature is essentially aircraft engines are expensive. So what this does is it reduces the thrust available when the aircraft takes off. So you don't want the aircraft to be using max power all the time, because that could reduce the engine's reliability over the long time. So you want to save those engines. That's the point of a flex temperature. Then we'll enter our V speeds. Okay. And now we have the performance data completely filled out and ready to go. You know it's good to go, if you will. If you see the flap retraction speeds, the clean speeds, if that's all entered here, then you know you have a properly programmed MCDU. I am gonna vectored approach, so I'll enter that into my performance screen now. And there we go. That's the new option. Now again, you can have your copilot fill out everything I just did with the exception of setting the runways. If you change that advanced option back to Captain Program NITB and Prep, if you set that to 0, then he will go ahead and program this for you as long as you set the data within the FSFO performance screen. Okay, so what I think I'll do now is I'll show you the RAS. So let's get this fully configured, and I'll see you out on the taxiway. Okay, welcome back. We're out here on the runway, and before I demonstrate RAS, I just wanted to kind of show a couple more features here. Again, FSFO will now evaluate multiple parameters to provide you with the score. As you can see, I purposely exceeded the taxi speed, so I failed in that parameter, which resulted in a 5-point reduction. Also, you can see the flap speeds here, which is your VLF and your landing gear speed VLE. These are the speeds that if you extend either the flaps or the gears and you're beyond these speeds, you will also fail in those. You can ascertain what those speeds are for your given aircraft by going to Information Services, Request Aircraft Data, and that is right here. So for the Fenix Airbus, I cannot extend the landing gear if my aircraft is not below 280 knots, and I cannot extend flaps 1 unless the aircraft is below 250. If you do that, you will receive a significant point reduction because that would damage the airframe. You can see right here the ones with the asterisks. Those are critical errors. So obviously, if you take off or if you exceed your maximum operating airspeed, you could potentially damage the airframe, and you're putting your passengers at risk. So anything with an asterisk is a critical, and it's a 25-point reduction or more. Crash detection is obviously a 50-point reduction. So you crash the aircraft, so to some various level, it should be significant. But that's this. I'll explain these in greater detail, and also provide going forward an aperture so you can choose the limits for all of these. For example, right now, bank angle limits are set to 25 degrees. I have a friend who works for Delta, and that's what they specify for for passenger comfort. Pitch limits are set to, I think it's 20 degrees too. So again, if you exceed any of those, you would fail, and then a rating reduction. So I wanted to explain that before we go ahead and demonstrate the runway awareness and alert system. So as you can see, we're out here. We're on a taxiway out here at Bangor International, and part of this system will, if it detects you're trying to take off the aircraft, it will alert you if you're on a taxiway vice runway. And let's go ahead and demonstrate that now. I have my parking brake set, and I'm bringing the thrust up.
On taxiway, on taxiway.
So there we go. It detected we were trying to take off the aircraft while we were on a taxiway. So now let's go ahead and let's approach our runway 15 and then show how the awareness alert system does that. Before that, though, just a couple things I want to bring to your attention. Several fixes in this update, thanks to all of you who helped me identify some of these for the Fenix and the PMGG 737 specifically. Lots and lots of fixes. I think after this update, we will have a pretty bug-free copilot going forward. But of course, if you noticed anything, please let me know, and I'll get those fixed as soon as possible. Of note in this is the ECAM buttons were sticking for several users. You can see that's no longer the case. That's fixed. Also, some of you may experience an ECAM alert on when you land the aircraft. That's because the takeoff config button was getting stuck. In fact, let's go ahead and we can demonstrate that now that that's been fixed. We'll go ahead and run the before takeoff
checklist.
a little early.
Engine mode selector.
Set.
Packs.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff, no blue.
Checklist complete.
So you just saw the
Flight attendants prepared for takeoff.
the copilot went ahead and pressed the takeoff config button, and it is no longer stuck. So that is I will not get that ECAM warning when I land the aircraft. Quite annoying bug. I apologize for that, but it should be fixed now. So let's go ahead and continue our demonstration of ROS. So what should happen now is we approached our runway 15. We should get a approaching our runway 15 message. And this is just the beginning of the ROS implementation. I will add more to it to make it more realistic going forward. Right now, it's just a generic ROS, but works well, as I hope will be demonstrated here.
Approaching runway 15.
There's the approaching warning.
On runway 15.
So there we go. You see the on runway, that needs to be fine-tuned a little bit more. Definitely will do that, but works well. So let's go ahead and let's do a long landing, a long takeoff, and see how the runway awareness alert system reacts to that. One other thing I wanted to know, another user request, which was quite frankly a good one. If you come in here and you go to advanced options, there's now a option to use 100 knots for Airbus regardless of SOP setting. So what that will do is no matter if you have this set to 80, the initial rollout call, if FSFO detects you're in an Airbus, it will call 100 knots vice the 80 knots, which is the correct procedure when flying an Airbus. Since I still do not have this throttle calibrated on my development machine, I'm going to use voice to go ahead and set my my takeoff power. Takeoff power.
Set.
And we're going to purposely do a long takeoff here, so...
Thrust set.
Checked.
Speed alive.
Checked.
$100 knots.
Checked.
And there's the 100 knots. Even though we had it set to 80, and I am purposely going to go long here, guys. I'm purposely holding a nose down.
V1, rotate.
I want to see if ROS works. And the first warning should be 3. Whoa. See, this is what calibrate your throttles.
3,000 feet
There
remaining.
you go.
2,000 feet remaining.
So
1,000 feet remaining.
So that is ROS
Flaps 1.
in a nutshell.
Positive rate.
Gear up.
Flaps 1. Gear up.
So there we go, guys. That is ROS in a
400 feet.
in a nutshell. So that will also happen on the other side, if you will. When you approach, you will get an approaching runway 22 left. You'll also, if you happen to go long on the runway without touching down, you'll get the long landing ROS alert. But those are the new features that have been implemented within this version of FSFO. Again, I plan to have more pack simulation coming out, some financial simulation, just to make this a complete autopilot. All those will be free that you can use even without an aircraft profile. Just to hope that I can make this copilot program your program of choice. Again, I'm always looking for suggestions on how I can make this better. And please report bugs. it's a source of pride for me to release a bug-free program. So please let me know if you have that. Okay, so the next video, I think I'm going to do a full demonstration of FSFO. I'm going to put a voice recorder on my actual flight simming machine and just go through a full flight. That was recommended by, I guess I didn't appreciate how many new users to flight simulation actually use FSFO, and we're looking for a little more detail. So that will be the next video. Until then, thank you again for all your support. Look forward to hearing from you on Discord. I hope you all have a great day. See you next time.